So hello and welcome to a new edition of You Are My Boro with myself, Scott Wilson, and Dom Shaw from the Northern Echo. And Dom, finally, it's Ryan Giles time.
Well, you have played a blinder today because we were going to record this video pod this morning, weren't we? And
We were.
being the experienced campaigner that you are, you said, well, we don't often get loads from a Carrick presser, but given it's the transfer deadline,
Yeah.
we had a couple of comments last week when we recorded the vid before the presser. It was for logistics last week, but we decided to record afterwards this week, and it's a good job we did.
It is. No, it is. It is. So you obviously kind of brought the story this afternoon that Giles was there, having a medical. He's been there. Well, what are we now? We're recording this kind of early evening Thursday. About an hour ago, it was confirmed by Boro that the deal is done. Giles is back as a Boro player. Nice picture of him signing away on the desk, which is always good to see. A loan, though, interestingly, and at this stage, no automatic kind of clause for a permanent deal. Although, as you've written in your stuff, you know, if all goes to plan and Giles is a success on Teesside for the remainder of the season, then potentially that could change. I mean, just talk us through a bit on your understanding of how we've got to where we are in terms of the deal and how happy Boro will be with it.
Well, I think the loan came as a surprise at the Hull end and the Boro end in terms of the fan reaction to it. But from what I gather, Boro are pleased with the deal they've got. He's arrived on loan until the end of the season initially. As you say, there's no automatic obligation. But should the deal go well in the next few months, then you would think there's going to be a willingness on all sides really to do the deal. Now, I know some Boro fans are kind of concerned that what if it goes well and Hull are suddenly going to try and drive the price up. But let's see when we get to the summer. But all the indications are Hull want to offload Ryan Giles. It was a deal they didn't want to do in the summer. They didn't want to make the deal permanent in the summer. That was agreed as an obligation when they signed him on loan last January. They've since moved on from there. They've had 2 manager changes since they signed him on the initial loan move. It feels like Hull are ready to draw a line under the Ryan Giles situation. And as we discussed on previous vids, in the summer there was maybe politics getting in the way at the Hull end of a deal being done. Ruben Sellers has come in, made it clear pretty quickly that he was happy to sanction the move for Giles. Boro obviously then made their interest known again. And from what we gather, Boro are pleased with the finances of the deal, not understood to be paying all of Giles's wages. And from Boro's perspective as well, like let's not beat around the bush. This is me saying this, and not anything that I've been told in the last few hours and days. But Giles hasn't had a great 18 months, and I guess it's on Giles to come and show in the next few months that he can be as effective as he was in that last loan spell. That wasn't the anomaly in his career so far, and he can reach those levels on a consistent basis. So it feels like Boro have a lot to gain from the deal, I think. The other thing I think is, let's be honest again, it's no secret that Giles regrets having not joined Boro on a permanent deal in the summer of 2023 when he moved to Luton instead. He's been itching for this move since, hasn't he? He'll be absolutely desperate to make a success of it, won't he?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've hit the nail on the head there in terms of the proof of the pudding of this is going to be what Ryan Giles of Boro got. You know, is Ryan Giles capable in the next 3 months of getting back to the levels that he was at in his first Boro spell? Because if he is, then he's unquestionably an upgrade on both Borges and Engel if he's playing at the levels he was at in that first spell. And he could be a massive factor in getting Boro over the line in this promotion push. Clearly the worry is he's barely kicked a ball at Luton. He's not been able to settle and establish himself at Hull. You know, are they just unfortunate moves that have gone wrong, or is that sign of a decline and the fact that he's just not at anywhere near at those levels? I mean, clearly Boro have done their scout and they've watched him, but I guess until you get him in, until you get him on the training pitch and back doing what Michael Carrick wants him to do, I guess you don't really know, do you?
No, I mean the positives obviously are the fact that Boro have evolved, haven't they? They've changed. They're a different team now to the team that Giles was part of. The build-up is different. The structure is different. I know they play a similar shape, but the structure of the side is different. You think back then, it was Giles on the left, Tommy Smith at right back, Giles bombed forward, Smith almost tucked in as a third centre half, didn't he?
Yeah.
Well, now you've got Luke Ayling on the right. Well, Ayling was one of Boro's best attacking outlets in the first half against West Brom on Tuesday. Whipped in a couple of great crosses. Ayling's as good going forward as he is defensively. So clearly the dynamics changed slightly there. But on the whole, Giles is coming in and knowing the type of football Carrick plays, knowing what he expects from him. He knows what training's going to be like. He's not going to have to settle off the pitch. From what we gather, he was a really popular figure in the dressing room last time. Now, I know the Boro squad has changed significantly since then, but Giles's character hasn't. He's still going to be a popular figure when he's back in there. And the other thing is, I thought Borges played well the other night. You would expect Borges to keep his place at Preston on Saturday. I'd be really surprised if Giles went straight in. And then you've got a 9-day break before the Sunderland game, so you can bed him in now, really, can't you? And then, as we said, it's up to Giles to try and hit the ground running.
It'd be quite a game if his first game back, second time round to Sunderland, wouldn't it? That would be quite a get yourself. I mean, I'm with you. I don't think the fact he hasn't trained at all yet with Boro. Even though yes, Carrick knows kind of what he can get from him. I'd be very surprised if he started at Preston too. A few other things then. As I say, you were at Rockcliffe earlier today, speaking of Michael Carrick. So Latte Lath, where we at with that? And A, transfer situation, and B, presumably he leads the line again at Deepdale.
Well, yeah, unchanged. Unchanged was a message from Michael Carrick repeatedly. We all tried in different ways, and the message was unchanged. What I asked Carrick, and I think you've touched on it previously, is there not a deadline? But Boro don't want to lose Latte Lath in the last hours of the window, do they? Surely there will be a stage where if he's going to go, then Boro are going to want kind of clarity and confirmation. Now, transfer windows don't work like that, do they? I know, but if we get to this time next week and nothing's happened, then what? Have Boro got a replacement lined up, ready to go, ready to press the button if he does go? I don't know. These are things that are going to play out over the next 10 days or so. But as of now, the message is the situation's unchanged. Atlanta United, from what we gather, are still the only club to have bid. And, obvious caveat, at this stage of a window, things can quickly change. But as things stand, the expectation is he'll be in from the off again. Deepdale on Saturday. What I would say is fair play to Latte Lath for getting his head down and playing well. I know, especially as a fan, like that's the minimum you'd expect, isn't it? He's well paid. He's well paid to play for the football club. You would expect him to go out there while he's still an employee and a player of the club and perform, but it doesn't always work like that in football, does it? Especially when there's major money moves on the line or in the offing. Latte Lath scored at Portsmouth, thought he played well against West Brom on Tuesday night, and he'll be in. As things stand, he'll be in from the off again at Preston on Saturday. Watch this space. What's your feeling? Well, I was just going to ask you. A couple have asked me, what's your feeling on Latte Lath? Now, a week ago, I'd have said, he's off. It's not doesn't feel as clear cut now.
No, it doesn't. I was just going to ask you, do you get the impression he doesn't particularly fancy the MLS at this stage of his career? Because I think if Latte Lath was thinking, okay, Atlanta United, at the minute they're the only team in for me, that'll do. I'm more than happy. That's where I want to go. Let's get myself over there. I think him and his representatives will be really pushing at Boro to say, look, what's happening here? We want to make this deal happen. Clearly, Boro don't think it's a deal that really suits them. But I get the impression that Latte Lath at the moment doesn't think it's a deal that really suits him. So unless you're going to see an Ipswich or a West Ham or an Everton actually put proper money on the table in the next... Yeah, and I'm with you. I think it would have to be by this time next week. Then I think he'll stay. I'm starting to think more and more he probably stays till the summer now.
It's one of them, isn't it, where I think I don't know whether it's that he doesn't fancy Atlanta, but I guess from his perspective, all the indications we've both heard is that there's been plenty of clubs sniffing around over the last couple of months. So if that is the case, if you are Latte Lath, then I guess it'd make sense to sit tight and, for now at least, and see if West Ham or Ipswich, because from what we gather, the kind of financial package Atlanta United are offering is significant. But if a Premier League club come in, they're going to match that, aren't they? If a Premier League club are paying £20 million for a striker, then they're going to be paying him a hefty salary. So I think from that point of view, it probably does make sense to sit tight and see if West Ham or Ipswich or whoever else feel the need to have a nibble in the last week. Is that there? Are Atlanta United just kind of waiting for that? I don't know. But then, like we said, at some stage, there will come a point where Boro will want to know, you would think. We'd love you to stay. You're our leading striker. But if you're going to go, I guess you need that clarity.
Well, and the dynamics of transfer window are a little bit different for Boro this time, because obviously on deadline day itself, Boro play Sunderland. So now I know, there are people within the club who, will be involved in recruitment. Kieran Scott, clearly the obvious one, who could be there at Rockcliffe, doing paperwork, signing players at the same time as Boro are playing at the Riverside. I get that. But it's not ideal, is it? Your main head brass are going to be at the Riverside. Michael Carrick on Monday itself is going to be very much game head on. He's not going to want the distraction of players potentially going in, players potentially going out. When he's doing his final training sessions on the Sunday, he'll want to know that's his team on Monday night, come hell or high water, won't he?
The one positive for Carrick is when we're asking him about transfers next Thursday or Friday, he can just say, "Well, my focus is only on the game." It's a funny dynamic, isn't it? I can only remember it once before. I'm sure, should have checked this before, but I'm sure in the Premier League season, Boro played West Brom at home in the January transfer deadline.
That's
I'm pretty sure that's it. But that's the only one I can remember. It's very rare, isn't it? I suppose if there's Fridays, there's often Friday night games, but that's the only one I can remember covering where there is where that's going on. And like you say, ultimately, if you get into the final stages of a transfer, it's going to be Kieran Scott or Neil Bowser or Steve Gibson. They're obviously putting the finishing touches to things, not Michael Carrick, But from Carrick's perspective, when, in the hours building up to a massive game, where he'll no doubt be taking calls about transfers, it's hardly ideal. What you would say is it's going to be the same for Sunderland, because they're still looking for a striker, as is often the case at Sunderland late in the transfer window. So it's going to be a funny dynamic, that one, isn't it? And the other thing is, coming into this window, I thought that it had the makings of being a pretty quiet window for Boro. How wrong I was, because at this stage,
when you're talking about
the back page on the Echo today is Boro still spinning several plates or hoping to sign several players and strengthening several areas before the deadline. Feels like it's going to be a busy last week and a half, doesn't it?
It does. And when you're talking about funny kind of developments on a match day, George Edmundson, we didn't really see that coming on. What was it, Tuesday night? Did we?
No, I feel for Edmundson there. It came out half an hour before the team news was due on Tuesday night. Now, Boro had been made aware of it earlier, and I think had been made aware 24 hours earlier that it was a possibility. But I think, given the nature of the position Edmundson finds himself in, which we'll get to, it is extra surprising. This isn't. Edmundson isn't a Ben Doak where he can be recalled to maybe play his part, or he can be recalled to be sold for mega money. Edmundson's in a unique position where his contract's up at the end of the season. And having already played for Ipswich and Boro this season, he can't play for anyone else. So if he hadn't played for Ipswich, you'd say, well, that's Ipswich just trying to flex the muscle, drive a bit of an auction in the final week of the window, normal deadline, transfer window practice. But Boro really are the only club that can buy him. No Championship club's going to buy him to have him training for 6 months and play next season. There's no indication that he's going to get a new contract at Ipswich. Edmundson loved it at Boro for the sake of what? A couple of $100,000? I don't know. I just feels like bad form from Ipswich for me.
Is it? I mean, is this toys out the pram stuff? Is it as simple as that? Do you think? Boro have bid what, 350,000 initially. The suggestions maybe 500,000. We don't really know what Ipswich are wanting, but clearly it's more than that. I mean, is this? Toys out the pram? We don't think you're taking this seriously. We'll bring him back. Come back with an offer that we'll accept, and almost cutting your nose off to spite your face.
Yeah, it feels like it, doesn't it? And
yeah.
You think of the human side for Edmundson. He's 27, so it's not like he's 35 at the back of 36 at the back end of his career. He's 27. This next move is going to be crucial for him now because he's going to get 3-year contract somewhere that he'll feel in the best years of his career. He was featuring regularly at Boro. He was an important player, popular figure in the dressing room, made it clear early on at Boro that he wanted to sign on a permanent deal. Doesn't really feature in the plans of Kieran McKenna unless there's been a significant change of heart there in the last few weeks and months. Suddenly, from Edmundson now, you're in limbo for a week, 10 days. You're watching on, probably hoping that Boro don't turn their attention elsewhere and sign another centre-half. From his point of view, he must be gutted. You don't want to speak for him, do you? Because we don't know, but all the suggestions are he loved it at Boro. He wanted to sign for Boro. You can't imagine he's overly pleased about developments this week, can you?
If Edmundson was the blow on Tuesday night, though, then from a transfer contract perspective, clearly the massive positive was the Ben Doak news. We'd reported earlier in the week that there was a cut-off point in the deal with Liverpool in the recall clause. That cut-off point is now passed. Ben Doak will be staying at Boro until the end of the season. I mean, it absolutely goes without saying that's a massive, massive boost for everyone involved, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Well, we'll come to you on it because it was on this video that you first discussed the idea of a cut-off for the recall, didn't you? And then you went to Rockcliffe and asked Michael Carrick about it, and he confirmed it. So just talk about the dynamics of how that came about then in the press conference on Monday.
Yeah, well, I mean, largely just because I think it's becoming increasingly common, and I have been made aware of a couple of other times, not involving Boro to be fair. Certainly one was a deal with Newcastle were involved in, where there had been a recall clause, but the club that he was at was really, really worried about losing him on the deadline day, which would have been the nightmare scenario with Doak, and so had pushed for a cut-off point within the clause. And I'd kind of heard whispers that maybe there was one with Doak. And then, like you say, Michael Carrick did confirm that. But with the benefit of hindsight, probably should have put 2 to 2 together and realised that he probably didn't want to go any further than that because it was very, very close. Understandably, when it was that close, he didn't want to be kind of getting that out there. So that was that. And then obviously, come Tuesday night, he said, yeah, that's it. He definitely stays. These these clauses are becoming more and more common, but it's still astute planning from Boro to have pushed and got that in there, isn't it?
100%, yeah. And keeping Doak is as significant, more significant than any signing that's made this month, isn't it? If you make a signing this month who has a bigger impact or who has a more important role to play in the second half of the season than Ben Doak, then you've pulled off some signing, haven't you, in the last week or so? Because he has been a game changer. After the game on Tuesday, I asked Tony Mowbray, who managed Amad Diallo on loan from Man United at Sunderland, Harvey Elliott on loan from Liverpool at Blackburn, and I said to him that there can be game changers, can't there? And he said Ben Doak's a special player, and Boro deserve huge credit really for how they've handled it, for the way they've got the best out of him. And as Mowbray said, everyone's benefiting here because Boro have got probably the best attacker in the Championship. Doak is playing week in, week out and benefiting enormously. But from Liverpool's perspective, as Mowbray said, how much was Ben Doak worth when he joined in the summer?
Yeah.
How much is Ben Doak worth now? How much could he potentially be worth in the summer if he continues as he has been for Boro in the next few months? Yeah, win-win. And best news of this week, probably going to be the best news of the whole transfer window, isn't it, for Boro?
Good to see Moggy. He got a cracking reception, didn't he?
Yeah. Brilliant. And it was a reminder in the press conference afterwards of just how good he is, because he gave that great answer on Doak, a really good answer on Doak. But then, as we know from sitting in several of his press conferences, he always can't help himself, but just give you a little bit more. And then he started talking about more Salah, and where will more Salah go? And what does Doak do in the summer? Brilliant. And then he reeled off the 86 team and was talking about how dads are pushing the 6-year-olds over to him in the car park to get pictures, and the kids don't know who they are. Amazing to see him back. I think he's got his work cut out at West Brom, because I was surprised by how poor they were on Tuesday. But they don't have a fit centre forward. He'd only been in there 36 hours. He's got a talented squad there, hasn't he? They're a good squad. They're a good team. And yeah, as he said in his press conference, he'll tickle their belly and get the best out of them, you would think, won't he, in the next few months. Be interesting to see, won't it? Because I think when you look at the Championship table and you look at the teams below Boro, Blackburn, effective, well coached. Watford having a bit of a blip. Reports today, I don't know how true they are, that Tom Cleverley is perhaps under threat. Then you've got obviously West Brom now. Mowbray, you would expect Mowbray to get an improvement out of West Brom and a response from West Brom. So yeah, I think that'll be interesting to play out. But Boro will be looking up, you would think. Boro have to be looking up, don't they? They need to build on that win now, string some wins together, starting at Preston on Saturday, and try and close that gap above rather than worry what's going on behind.
It was a big win as well, wasn't it? Off the back of Portsmouth and throwing away more points there. It was important that Boro made that kind of statement against, you're right, a West Brom side who maybe weren't at the best, but who are still undoubtedly one of their promotion rivals.
Yeah, I think big win because it's a rival, but also, like you said, the Portsmouth defeat, the manner of the Portsmouth defeat, the fact it felt like a rinse and repeat, same again. Carrick afterwards in his interview with Mark on BBC Tees kind of played down this idea of pressure. But I think there was pressure because the fans made the frustrations known at full time at Fratton Park on Saturday. Had West Brom scored first on Tuesday night, then it might have got a bit uncomfortable for Carrick. As it was, Boro responded well, thought they played really well in the first half, deservedly in front. But then probably just as satisfying was the fact they managed to weather that bit of a difficult spell in the second half. Having Aidan Morris back makes a massive difference for everyone around him. Protection for the defence, gets the best out of Hackney. Ayling, I thought, managed the game well in the second half, used his experience. So, it just moves things on to the weekend now. And Preston, which is a tough game, but we've said this before, it feels like the type of game that Boro need to find a way to win, don't they? If they're going to string together wins, then these are the type of games where you do need to go there and grind a win out.
And haven't really won enough of them so far this season, have they? You know what I mean? We've said it repeatedly, but it's been one step forward, one step back. Well, it was a big step forward in the week. Don't get me wrong, absolutely. But again, the value of that will be diminished massively if they can't then go and follow it up at Preston. I mean, how do you see it going? How do you see it at Deepdale?
I do fancy Boro. Preston are solid, but not spectacular. And I think you know what you're going to get from a Paul Heckingbottom Preston team. They're going to be difficult to beat, but they may be lacking a bit of an attacking spark. Boro don't have a great record at Deepdale. Not that I read much into that, but you've got a full away end, a packed away end there. Make a good noise. You've got a big and important win in midweek. I fancy Boro to edge it. Maybe 2-1, 1-0. What do you reckon were your very specific predictions? Ryan Giles off the bench to tease in a delivery for Latte Lath to score?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I think Boro will win. I think maybe a 3-1. Maybe kind of. So I'll go Boro to get the lead. Latte Lath, 20 minutes. Preston to equalise towards the end of the first half. And then the game very much in the balance. Yeah, probably Greenwood, yeah. And then the game very much in the balance. And then Boro to kind of break it open with a goal with about 12 minutes left. Bergzorg, 78. And then Latte Lath second, 91st. Just when Preston are knocking on the door. A Boro break on the counter-attack. Latte Lath puts it to bed, 3-1.
If you were there with one of your 3-1 bets, that would be a stoppage time goal worth celebrating, that one.
It wouldn't it just? Yeah, wouldn't it just? It would be. It would be. Well, listen, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to us. If you're watching us on YouTube, then please like, subscribe, leave a comment. If you're listening on the various podcast platforms, and we're on all the main ones, then rate and review. And again, get in touch. Let us know what you're thinking. Keep in touch with everything that we're writing on the Northern Echoes website. Dom is at Deepdale at the weekend. He'll be there giving you all the live coverage, all the fallout, all the post-match analysis. And then obviously next week, in the run-up to deadline day, the last full week of the window, we'll have all the latest news, all the breaking stuff. We will do another vid at the start of next week. We may well try and make it a live one so we can do some question and answers on what you're thinking about. Obviously, a little bit more time next week with no midweek match. So hopefully we can do that. Keep in touch. Have a good weekend. Hopefully all goes well at Preston. And we'll see you again next week for some more You Are My Boro.